ideally, you know, you run these things for 3 days, but there's never an opportunity to do that.
Right.
So if we run each drain field for 10 minutes and it takes it with no backup, then we're in good shape.
Does this amount of fall help us some?
Oh yes. What the fall has to be, it depends on the size of the pipe. If a pipe is 4 inches, then you can get by with an 1/8 inch fall in a foot. If it's 3 inches or less, then it takes a 1/4 inch foot. But the more you get, you know, the system's simple. As long as water runs downhill, the system works.
Doesn't the military have something with it?
Yeah, but they don't call it water.
So what we're looking at out here in this green grass, that's our drain field, isn't it?
Yeah, you got two. One right here, about 20 foot wide, and another one right over there. And what we want to do is we want one of them being used while the other one's draining or being dried out.
So that's what this baffle system is.
That's a bull run valve, okay? You normally have one of 2 types, maybe 3 types. Bull run is the most common. Then there's a Jandy, and then there's another one called a K-ring valve that's automatic. But this one ought to be switched once a month. It takes a key like this right here. And just, I'm sorry, what? All right. Just put it on and spin it. Do that once a month and your field will stay healthy.
Okay.
Because what you want to do is remember what it's doing. This thing is probably dug 2 foot to 30 inches deep.
Right.
With 12 inches of gravel in the bottom of the ditches. And then they put a perforated pipe on top of that.
You gonna close that?
As soon as we're saying, there's 12 inches of gravel in the bottom of the ditches they've dug here. And this is called envirotranspiration, but what it means in little words is that the water spreads out in the gravel and it begins to percolate down through the soil. And when it gets to the aquifer, this water's going to be pure. You can drink it, bathe in it, whatever you want. And it's pure not because it got filtered through a bunch of dirt. It's pure because of bacteria action in the soil. We got good guys killing bad guys. Okay. Now, if you get enough water in that gravel, it's going to begin to wick to the surface, to evaporate.
Right.
As it gets near the surface, the plants drink it. So what you want to do is you want to keep those plants alive. You keep it mowed just like you do your yard,
right,
because you're encouraging evaporation, but the plants will drink it. So in the summer, if it gets real hot and starts drying out, you need to keep it alive. Put a little water on it.
So make sure we got the grass growing out there.
Yeah, keep it growing.
Okay, makes sense.
Don't saturate it, but keep it alive. And really, that's as long as water runs downhill.
So that
this works.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's really the purpose of the turning the baffle
is to switch drain fields.
So we keep our growth alive on top.
Yes.
Okay, well that makes sense.
That helps. It does that, and it keeps you from saturating the drain field. And you can do that. If you just keep putting it in there, and if it starts raining, after a while you're going to saturate it.
Yeah.
That's why you need 2 of them.
Well, Chet, changing subject, one of the things that always comes up is people ask us, well, when do I need to pump my septic tank?
Okay. There's a rule of thumb. Okay, the rule of thumb is every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Now, one of the things to remember is there's no such thing as a system that doesn't need to be pumped.
Now, why is that?
Because the solids you put them in, they got to go somewhere. Okay. And after a while, I don't care how big your box is, it's going to fill up.
Okay.
So we pump it every 3 to 5 years. Now what we have here is just a big concrete box. And we shouldn't have to worry about this because concrete cures for 199 years. So as long as you don't drive across it, or if you're not back flushing a water softener in it and letting the salt eat it up,
okay,
then this ought to stay healthy. We may do like this one's getting some roots in it, but those just need to be trimmed off. No more than we have in there, they'll just rot right where they are.
So it's a pretty natural system in the way
Oh,
it
it
functions.
is. It is. Nature thought of everything, and that's the thing to remember is you can't make this system work better. Nature thought of everything. You can screw it up. There are a couple things you can do to screw it up, but the first thing people do is sometimes they put grease in there. Grease stops up everything. It'll stop the pipes up in the house too.
Yeah.
The next thing is that you can't put feminine products in there because they don't dissolve, and they'll begin to clog things up. And the last thing is no chemicals. You know, you can do your laundry, you can do your house cleaning, but
Well, those nowadays are based upon being pretty eco-friendly, aren't
yeah,
they?
they are for the most part. And but you can't put paint thinners or if you're going to clean an engine, you can't put that stuff in there. And more important, you can't put Rid-X in there because the Rid-X will change the chemical composition in the water. And what happens is, see, of the solids that come into that tank, 60% of them fall to the bottom immediately. But that leaves 40% suspended in the water. Left alone while you're sleeping or working or whatever, about 3/4 of that will settle out. But that still leaves about 25% that'll go out in that drain field.
Okay.
And what we've got to do is limit the amount, because it's like any war anywhere. If the bad guys get enough reinforcements, they're going to overwhelm the good guys.
Okay. Makes sense.
And what it does, it will create a bacteria mass out in the drain field. To me, it kind of looks like black jello.
Yeah.
But anyway, it lines the bottom and sides of the ditches so that the water can't penetrate it.
Yeah.
And if that ever happens, the drain field's gone.
Yeah.
And you can't bring it back. So we don't let it get there. Okay.
Well, I know one of the big questions that comes up all the time is, well, you know, my family's not all that big, so how many years do I need to do it? And I know it's different if you got a family of 3 or you got a family of 7 or 8 kids.
It depends. You base the size of the system on the number of bedrooms, not the number of bathrooms. And in this case, we're going to have 3 people living here, and they've got 1,000 gallons. If they'll pump this system every 5 years, but we normally say 3 to 5. But if they pump it every 5 years, this system should stay healthy.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's